Hazbin Hotel Season 3 feels like it's shaping up to be the season mostly centered around Angel Dust. Sure, we've got Lilith's return to look forward to as well, since she finally returned Charlie's dozens of missed calls in Season 2's finale, but Angel Dust has completely distanced himself from the hotel until further notice, as the guilt he felt over betraying his friends was too much for him to handle. Even though his betrayal was completely out of his own control, his screen time in Season 2 was already quite scarce to begin with, despite his incredible significance to the show's purpose. The first actual guest at the Hazbin Hotel, yet still struggling to redeem his way into heaven. This isn't a dig at how Angel's redemption arc has been handled, by the way, because most of Season 2's core plot was tied to if Sir Pentious is actually in heaven or not, meaning Angel took a bit of a backseat for the majority of it. So I wanted to go over the potential story Angel's arc could follow in Season 3 and what it could mean for the rest of the series as a whole. At first, we gotta tackle the reasons behind Angel winding up in hell to begin with, and how he landed in this master-servant type dynamic with Valentino. Season 2, Episode 3 revealed through Vox the reason Angel ended up in hell was because he supposedly killed his father in cold blood.
Killed your dad, right? At least that's what Val told me. What did he do? Hit you?
Which by default makes him a harder sinner to redeem than Pentious, as Pentious was someone who, out of a mixture of fear and complacency, allowed Jack the Ripper to commit several murders in the Victorian London era. So while he never gets his hands dirty directly, he was able to redeem himself in Season 1 because he conquered this fear of putting others' needs before his own. In this case, Cherry Bomb and the rest of the hotel crew. Angel, on the other hand, we don't know the specifics quite yet, but I have to imagine his mindset when he killed his father was filled with nothing but hatred and his own self-interest, rather than protecting others around him. Because if this was one of those for the greater good / protecting a loved one self-defense type kills, then he wouldn't have ended up in hell in the first place by this version of Heaven's logic. I'm going to be a bit bummed out if that ends up being the case, because that would create an extremely annoying plot hole within Heaven's systems. We've already played with some pretty dangerous territory when it comes to plot holes or plot hole adjacent decisions. If this comes true, it would be really bad in my opinion. So let's hope for the best on that. To give some more context to Angel's human life that the main show hasn't really explored yet, other than Angel's father, who is more than likely in hell with him right now, Angel also has an older brother named Arachnus and a younger sister named Molly. I love how one of them has a spider-themed name while the other has a drug one, by the way. It's very cute. Both of whom have been shown briefly already as background characters in hell and heaven respectively. But if you're a casual viewer who hasn't been following Viv's work for a while or didn't go out of your way to look into older art, you'd never know these two characters were related to Angel. Arachnus can be seen from behind in Season 1's finale when Katie is talking about Adam's death, while Molly's enjoying her time in heaven in Season 1 Episode 6 and Season 2 Episode 2. Arachnus in particular was confirmed to have gotten his voice actor on board about 7 months prior to me making this video, revealed by Viv herself on her Blue Sky account. I've seen a lot of people fan casting Michael Kovac, who was Angel Dust's original VA, and that'd be a great choice if he wanted to come back. I suppose it's possible they're saving him for Season 4, as it was also said by her that Season 3 and 4 were being produced in tandem with basically no breaks, but considering the way Season 2 ended, it feels like a safer bet to assume we'll see him sooner rather than later. While we have yet to see the two interact, Viv years ago said Angel and Arachnus are pretty much polar opposites, with Angel in particular making fun of Arachnus a lot because of how short he is, despite being the oldest sibling. Considering the two of them haven't interacted once yet, nor has Angel brought up his family in any kind of capacity so far, I imagine the relationship between these guys is strained to say the least. Perhaps Arachnus holds more animosity towards Angel than the other way around, not even for the bullying, but for killing their father. The spider father was given his own design as well via the short animation made even before Hazbin Hotel's pilot, showing this very burly looking spider demon sitting next to Arachnus. However, his official name has yet to be given as of now. During their time alive as a mob family, there's no doubt these guys were partaking in heinous activities, robbery, threats, other acts of violence outside of murder, that typical mob stuff, with Molly not partaking in any of it, hence how she ended up in heaven. Angel's dad couldn't have been that much of a nice guy. I'm assuming he's going to have a pretty similar personality to Crimson from Hell of a Boss, only looking out for his own interests and treating his family more like a business than people he actually loves, leading to Angel eventually getting tired of it all and killing him. But that does also beg the question why Angel would willingly submit to someone like Valentino if he wanted to prevent another cycle of being used and abused. Well, I think it comes down to two factors personally. First is Angel has a serious case of self-loathing. For a while, he believed he didn't deserve to live a normal existence, always turning to drugs, alcohol, and sex as a way to cope. Thanks to bonding with Husk, Angel did start to see some genuine improvement in this area, but unfortunately began to spiral again after Vox took control of his mind, feeling worse than ever because because even when he finally began to, form genuine bonds with others outside of getting wasted, he felt responsible for everything and didn't want the people he cared about to get caught up in his problems anymore. At this current moment, he thinks he's beyond fixing, despite Cherry and Husk willing to stick by him through it all. Reason number 2 is Angel didn't know what Val was truly like when he signed the Soul contract. We gotta remember that even though we, the audience, know Val is a complete waste of life, the way the majority of Hell views him within the show is very different. They see Valentino as this star-studded playboy filmmaker who you'd be lucky to work with one day. So I could easily see Valentino, acting super nice and cordial to Angel does when he first meet, but the moment that contract is signed, everything, takes a 180. Season 2's finale pushed this in-universe narrative even further, as Katie Killjoy and the rest of the media twisted it to where they made Val sound like this big hero standing up for the little guys in Hell that couldn't fight back, when in reality, he and Velvet only stepped in because they felt like they would die if they didn't. Plus, if enough people died, they'd lose out on business. And now with Vox knocked down a peg, the show is making it out to where Valentino could be considered the new leader of the V's, although it's up in the air how much of a role he'll actually play as an antagonist next season, as the waves have been paid for both Alistair and Lilith to be up to no good if the story wants to take that path, which unfortunately circles back to Hazbin's pacing issue due to Amazon Prime only allowing for 8-episode seasons, on top of the show having so many characters it wants to tackle, which is why when it comes to Angel's family in particular and how respective arcs centered around them could be handled, I'm keeping my expectations as moderate as possible right now, because Hazbin has been guilty of doing that before. Abel was a big one for me. His whole quote-unquote arc of taking the reins from his father, then standing up to Lute felt so unbelievably rushed. It wouldn't surprise me at all if anything involving Arachnis or Molly in particular would follow suit. Molly's one of those characters where she and Angel probably won't interact in present day at all until Angel potentially gets to heaven, as this season established that unless your name is Lilith or you're a higher ranked angel, winter spirits cannot contact Hell through traditional means. Plus, no voice actor has been confirmed for her through social media yet, like with Arachnis. If she is in season 3 like her brother and father, I guess it'll have to be one of those things where Penchus befriends her and learns about her relation to Angel. That'd be a friendship I'd be down to see explored a little. As for Arachnis and the Spider Father, I see their introductions to the story going one of two ways. Either Angel goes back to them for another place of residence to share with V Tower now that he's done with the hotel for a bit, or Husk and Cherry go out of their way to do some digging on Angel's past, hoping whatever they learn could help convince him to come back. I'm personally leaning towards the latter being the case, as if we assume both Arachnis and the dad hold contempt towards Angel for what he did when they were alive, then there's no way they'd want to welcome him back with open arms. Plus, it makes more logical sense to stay at only V Tower now that Val has more power than before, which in turn would mean he'd want Angel working way more hours than usual, to boost business. Out of the main sinners whose human lives we have yet to, take any peeks into at this point, Angel and Husk are the two I want to see the most now. If season 3 does end up being more Angel focused than the previous two, seeing a glimpse into his human past is borderline guaranteed at this point, as season 2 explored that territory with 3 characters within the first 7 episodes. I'm very curious to see how the events will play out. If they can make Angel stuff somehow more interesting than, Vox content from season 2, that's a feat right there. But at the same time, I don't want Charlie getting snubbed to the same degree in season 3 as she did in 2, because that would really suck. Let me know what you guys think could happen in relation to Angel and his family in the future. I'd love to know your thoughts. Like, subscribe, all that good jazz. But for now, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.